All right, guys. So, thank you so much for joining. We're pre-recording this because we can't go live. Something's happening where we can't go live. They're trying to keep our voices down, bro. But here we go. We're doing it. So, my name is Patrick. I'm with Eventide. I'm joined by a bunch of amazing minds in hip hop and in soul, and just like musicians who I genuinely just admire. I mean, we right before we kind of like started, I was just telling Nick how much I think I've listened to the new Run the Jewels record probably like 6 times, maybe more, since it came
Hey,
out. It's amazing, bro. Phony people, I've just been like listening to. I think Why I Love the Moon was like one of those
It's
songs
the
where like
best
after
song
my
ever.
breakup, I
Yo,
was like,
that's
thanks,
so
y'all.
good, yo.
Hey, we appreciate that. We really do.
That's the song.
bro,
I got that joint on playlist and everything, man. That's my
Oh,
crazy.
damn. Thank you.
man, that's love.
Damn, I'm about to
Yeah.
cry, bro. This is lit. Thank you.
But man, like I mean, I grew up in the Philippines. Like I didn't have a lot of like exposure to hip hop culture and like hip hop music in general. Like in the Philippines, it was very focused on like rock and pop and a lot of karaoke stuff. You know, like going back to the classics. Although there was always that influence of hip hop, it was never outwardly said to everyone like this is rap. Like you'd hear bands with like influences of like rhyming and fast paced speak, like but it was never outward said it was rap until I got to the U.S. and I was in high school and I was renting albums in the library and I got Graduation by Kanye just because I was like, yeah, people are talking about this record, bro. That changed my whole freaking life, dude. That record starting with like just Good Morning and it's just anyway, it was mind blowing for me, bro. So I'm so excited to talk to everyone here because it's just been such a big part of my life and my growing up. To get kind of your mind's take on everything, especially in today's climate. Yeah, thank you so much for joining. So I guess we'll start with the Eventide crew, like introducing themselves. So first is Brett Headsnack, man. You want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, what's up, guys? I know some of you. I'm Head Snack, aka Brett. My mom, or Phonics. I was in a group called Regenerated Headpiece back in the day. Been making hip hop music for 30 years, and I ran a site called globalhiphop.com back in the early days of the internet. And so I've been a fan for a long time. And the last few years, I've been working with Eventide. I do sound design with them. I do a lot of their tutorials. Love helping people make music. That's what I do at the end of the day. It's a beautiful thing. And I've got a lot of love for hip hop culture. I've studied it all my life. From the first Run DMC tape was my first introduction, and I started rapping. Listening. I grew up on Long Island, and so I used to take pride that EPMD came from the next town over. Enemy was over there, and leaders of the new school and stuff. So I'm from that era. I'm very grateful to be here with everybody here. I've been trolling most of you guys, listening to your shit. Some of you I've been texting and stuff, and I just appreciate everybody being open and enjoy listening to what you have to say.
Right on, bro. Donovan, you want to go next?
Hey, what's up, guys? My name is Donovan. I'm a hip hop, I guess like R&B artist by the same name, what my mom gave me. And I also work at Eventide, making sound examples, testing, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, I mean like hip hop and R&B and soul, neo soul, gospel music, and the way that they all intersect is everything to me. Because there's a clear path, of just black music throughout the entire thing. And I think when those things intersect in a way that just become one thing, that's what's like really interesting to me. And I think that's a lot of what's happening right now. And I think all you guys' music reflects that. So I'm really excited to hear you guys talk about like just whatever that common thread is that connects all these things and how you like capture that feeling.
Right on, bro. So let's start with like some of the artists, man. Like Willie Green, you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm Willie Green. I'm a producer and engineer from Brooklyn. Born and raised in Hartford, Connecticut. I'm out here in Brooklyn now. Been out here for a minute. I'm freelance. I kind of do whatever for anyone who calls the phone. That's how this works. But primarily, I work with the label Backwood Studios. Is based out of here in Brooklyn. We do Arm& Hammer, Billy Woods, Elucid. We did the Shrapnel album earlier this year with Curly Castro and Prem Rock. We do noisy, abstract, weird rap. We call it art rap, For me, the weirder the better. I like to stretch out and do left field stuff and, effects heavy stuff. I mean, that's why I'm here with Eventide, because y'all got the sauce. So,
Hey.
that's what it is.
Right on, bro. Nick, you want to go next? Oh, you're muted, bro. Hold on. I got you.
Oops. Am I there?
Yeah, bro.
go.
Hey, I'm Nick Hook. I grew up in St. Louis, Missouri. I've been in New York City for like 16 years. I don't know. I got signed to Warner Brothers when I was like 24, and music's brought me through this wild journey. Is like, I've just looked at myself as a person that likes to get in a room with someone and just look at each other and say, where are we going from here? So it's led me to engineering, to producing, to being an artist and a DJ. And it's hard. I hate describing what we all do because I feel like this is our life. Every moment leads to who we meet and who we work with and where the tour takes us and all that stuff. So I have a studio in Brooklyn, and we just get loose in there and go nuts.
Bro, speaking of where it takes you, you're in like the West Coast right now, bro, enjoying the warmth. I
had a really good session with Gangster Boo yesterday. We made a bunch of music. So,
that's fire.
LA, baby. It's wild. It's good. There's girls in roller skates listening to Tupac right now.
Ain't nothing wrong with that.
Nah, it's like it's funny that all these dreams are real.
Yeah, bro. Yeah, Brian, you want to go next?
Yeah. My name is Brian Chiappinelli. I go by BChaps as an artist. From Albany, New York. Actually, my friend Mike and I just built a new studio in a house that he just bought. So that's where I am right now. It's a little spot. We got a booth over here. Primarily, I just engineer for different artists around the capital region. I've worked with some bigger people. I'm working with an artist right now named Kamalii. He's great, super old school New York vibes. He just put out a record with a label called Soul Tapes, and they're like pressing everything to vinyl and giving him all the money from it. It's good setup. He went #1 on the Bandcamp new releases yesterday, so
hey,
very hyped about that.
Bro.
Yeah, bro, it's like one of the biggest things that I've been able to accomplish. So I feel super blessed that like he was with the process, because we never met before, so it was amazing. And I don't know, that's what I'm trying to do. Is like you said, Nick, just get up with people and
let the universe
make something happen. You know?
That's it.
Yeah, bro.
Yeah.
C-Doc.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah, bro, how you doing?
I'm good. Hi, guys. No, thanks for having me. My name's David C Snyder. Go by C-Doc. I'm a filmmaker and a music producer. And I MC, or I used to. I haven't done it in a while. But I work with Public Enemy. And I'm the president of Chuck D's record label, Spit Slam music label. And I'm just happy to be here, man. This is kind of cool. You know, I wasn't sure exactly what this was gonna be when Head Snack asked me to do it, and I'm just like, wow, okay, I'm in a room with some real talented pros here. So happy to blessed to be here with you guys. So.
Bro, you are among the talent, and you're among the everything. So thank you for being here. Seriously.
Oh, thank you. Yeah.
Man. Dude, Will, dälek, how you doing, bro?
It's good, man. Yeah, I'm Will Brooks. Go by dälek, MC, co-producer for the group by the same name, just to make shit confusing for everyone. I'm on it, Big Cat Recordings. It's Mike Patton's record label. Been putting records out since like '97. I mean, I'm a lifer, man. I've been doing this, you know what I mean, as long as I can remember. Yeah, man, just make experimental, noisy hip hop, influenced by groups like Public Enemy, Boogie Down Productions, and My Bloody Valentine, Velvet Underground. So we're somewhere in the middle of that. But yeah, man.
Bro,
originally from Newark, New Jersey. Currently in Union City, New Jersey. But yeah, I'm East Coast.
Still though, Jersey represent though, bro.
Hey, Will, I gotta ask you: have you ever gotten Mike Patton to get down on a track? Because for those that don't know, he's one of the most eclectic artists ever. He's up there in my top 10 of just weird, awesome, amazing musicians.
Yeah, it's funny, man. We haven't done anything together. There may or may not be something in the works, but that's either a rumor or it's not. I can't deny or confirm.
Right on, bro. And Aja and Elbee, man, why don't you guys introduce yourselves?
Here.
Hey.
He's gonna show everybody up, man. Damn.
New York gotta make
New shit.
Got DJ Clue tape in here.
This is a world premiere.
World premiere. It gotta be fun, What's up, everybody? I'm Elbee Thrie from Phony People.
Yes, I'm AJ Grant. What's going on?
Yeah, and we are in a band called Phony People.
Yeah,
That we are the
obviously.
co-founders of. We met in junior high school, so I known this guy. We known each other for a strong
Yeah,
time.
the audition in junior high school.
Yeah, so technically elementary school. Getting into the
Mm.
audition for the music program in junior high.
Yeah.
So we know each other for a long time. His brother is Barry Bass, who's the bass
Yep.
player in Phony People. So we got the brotherly love in the DNA. And yeah, we just on the musical quest ever since we were kids to just feel good through music and to make shit that's nothing like anything we've ever heard.
Yeah, we known each other since like learning what a quarter-inch is. Like we probably had that question together.
Yeah, for sure. Find out what a major 7 chord is and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, we got the quest. We're super gearheads, we're texture heads, and we just like trying shit out. Like actually right before this, Agent just pulled up with a you can tell him. Tell him.
Oh,
Yeah.
I just like went to Main Drag to pick up a keyboard I had there since January, and I was like, y'all got any spring reverb? So I just bought like a little like a Fender spring reverb, like the unit. That's like what is it, like from the 60s or something like that? It's from like the early
crazy.
60s. It's really dope. We were just running some drums to it.
Hey, yes.
Super fire. Yeah.
Yeah, we just like experimenting.
Yeah.
Yo, I gotta give you guys props because I saw you guys live when you were playing with Crump outdoor, and you guys got rained out. You remember that show?
Oh my gosh, yeah. Summer stage.
It was thundering.
We almost got electrocuted that day.
Yo, I know, but you guys kept going.
Yeah.
I had no mic, and it was just like
It was like just drum set. They were just playing drums. Do you remember that?
Okay. So I remember the day, but now it all came back to me now.
Yeah.
I remember that. The power cut in the middle of our set, and we just started doing everything that relied on acoustics.
Yeah.
So like there was no keyboard, but we just broke the drum set down into like, you playing floor
It's like
tom.
no
I'm
mics,
playing
no
kick drum,
monitors,
like,
nothing.
just grab the snare drum, just go into the crowd, and just keep it going. But we never got the power back.
You kept it hype, though. You kept it hype.
Thanks, man. Gotta go in the crowd and freestyle with the good people,
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, bro.
Again, thank you guys for joining. So I guess my first question is like, and what a better group of people to ask this question to is like, when you're creating a song, when you're writing a song, when you're producing something, what's the initial thing you use to get inspired? Like whether it's like I know like Willie Green, like you have the Press Play documentary where you take literally pictures and you get sounds out of those photos and you create a song with that. And like Nick, when I went to your studio, a big thing about you was like you have to have a workflow that really, really translates well to you just sitting down and making sure you can like create a song on the spot. But like in terms of like finding the inspiration for the song, like what do you use to kind of like get that inspiration? And anyone can answer that.
For me, it used to be Old English 800, but that's back when it was. Now that it's plastic, I ain't really fucking with that no more. I don't know. I mean, I guess it's different for everybody, but for me, I'm still from that, digging through crates and just like finding that one. It doesn't even have to be a loop, man. It just needs to be that sound that just sets it off and just kind of just. Makes it just sparks the whole track. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So that I'm still from that school, man. Like there got to be like some sort of sound or something that it just kind of sparks it for me. And sometimes, to say the truth, it could be like just taking whatever and running it through something like, you know what I mean, like Eventide effects. Or, not to name drop the company, but you know what I'm saying, for real though, like running something through like Black Hole, you come up with completely different sound textures and soundscapes that from the sound source. That just kind of sparks you to create a whole joint right there,
Right. Like when you're creating something like that though, like are you inspired by like a melody first, or is it like a drum beat, or it just depends on whatever you're hearing at the time?
For me, I think it depends, man. Like I don't really have like a set formula. I think like every song kind of just naturally occurs in different ways. You know what I mean?
Gotcha.
Yeah, I mean for me it's like. Once I hear a good sound, it's gonna set it off. Whether it's a kick drum, a snare, or pad, or whatever it's gonna be, And then I like to take other influences in and kind of build off of that. Like my wife is in antiques; she's in the art world, so we go to a lot of museums and shit. So it's like I might see a painting, be like, oh, that sparks one thing in me, so that might just set me off, and it might not be derived right from that painting, but at least it's something creative that's gonna spark me in some kind of direction. And then I just got to roll with that and just see where that takes me. Once I start thinking too much, you start to iron out all the vibes, and then it doesn't work for me.
Goes away, bro. But you've
Yeah.
done literally where you took the sound from the painting and then created that into a song.
Yeah. So I did this project last year, like you said, called Press Play, and I sampled paintings. So I was working with this gallery, and I chose 10 paintings, and I got the images. I used this image to audio software called Sonic Photo, and it just made sounds out of these images. So I would make my sample pack basically for each song off of that, and the one rule was everything in each song the sounds could only come from that painting. So all my drums, bass sounds, everything had to be generated from there. But then I could put them through any effects I wanted or whatever I wanted to do and really compose.
Right.
But they come from that painting. So then we did the installation. We have the painting up, and then a set of headphones, and you could listen basically to my interpretation of that art there in the gallery.
That's super cool.
That's dope.
That's
man.
dope. That's dope.
I got a question about that.
Yeah.
So that's actually something I thought about because I experienced synesthesia and it's fucking awesome. So years ago I had this conversation with my friends about like, yo, what does this picture sound like? You know, but if there was, you know, just what does that mean? Where does the bridge connect? And we started making these algorithms or these rules, like different suits of like, okay, we'll have like suit 1, and suit 1 has its own translation of how much area the blue left corner is, you know, how dark that blue is. Like, does that mean E flat minor, or does that mean a certain mode, or does that mean?
Yeah.
So how did you translate? Like, what like Rosetta Stone did you create to be able to translate what you see to what you hear exactly?
So the software, I started looking at it real texturally at first because it basically, you know, it opens up this image and you just press play and it gives you, you know, pretty abstract sounds, but that's why I'm kind of like, oh, okay, well, I could see where that could go if I make it longer, if I pitch it up or whatever I'm going to do. But it will also let you force those tones to be certain notes or chords. So you can put in, I want XYZ chord, and it'll force that tonality into those pitches to hit that.
Oh, okay.
So I would take that, I would basically just choose chords that I liked, and then I would put those into Cubase and basically chop that as if I was using the sample, because I'm not a keyboard player. I can't play it like that, but I can take those chords and I can chop them like a loop.
Definitely.
Yeah.
That's awesome, man. I got to check that out. Press play.
That's what's up. Yeah. I'll shoot y'all a link.
Please, yeah.
For sure.
Yo, Elbee, when you like so you have synesthesia, like so you can like literally see colors when sound is playing, or does it like have to be a specific like kind of thing?
So the thing, I've only paid attention to my own experiences, and I haven't read too deep into it, because I know everyone has their own suit. Some people may, you know, their senses may get crossed up in a different way. But for me, there has to be a certain level of something, and whatever that something is an X factor for it to register as color or texture to me. And I think through the years I found that polytonal music, you know, or music that's in between the Western tuning of A440, like 432, the healing frequency, and just everything that has to bring, that's part of what unlocks me being able to see a color if it's not tuned to Western music. Because all the colors in between, you know, you could get color from the transition of and Aja and I go through this all the time, because we'll break down like songs to our own songs as we're writing them, but we'll break them down to the molecule and understand that I could see a color because of the chord transition. Like, you know, he went from this chord to that chord, and this beginning and that ending creates a color or tension or citrus or barbecue sauce or fucking, you know what I'm saying? Like, I can't even control how it comes back to me, but it's a real thing. And I find it so much when I use modulation or when it's a chorus effect or something that's making the pitch fluctuation, I feel unlocks the colors, you know?
Yeah, bro.
For me personally,
That's awesome. So you're painting like orally, like with the music, and also visually, because you can literally see kind of like, or visualize the colors of like what the song will look like.
Crazy. And sometimes it's not always colors. Sometimes it could be like, you know, tastes or like ranges of frequency. That's just like, oh, this reminds me of that time I you know, maybe not a food, but an experience I had, or a smell. This time in West Virginia one time when I was like by the pool standing there, and when I was 6, like that random moment that you never thought was significant. You'll just be like, oh, this smells like my preschool. You know what I mean? Or like, and it's a song. Like this song smells like.
That's how you know you
preschool.
captured the emotion properly.
Yeah, that's awesome.
That's a gift, bro.
Speaking of that whole side of things, how do you? I guess Patrick's question was about starting things, and to the point of like knowing the feeling is captured. How do you guys know when a song is finished? Like, I know for me personally, it's when like my neck moves a certain way, but a lot of times, you know, I hear a lot of like everyone's always like, all right, there's no new ideas under the sun. Like everything's been said and done in music, and I think a lot of what modern music or like our jobs as people currently making music is to recapture that at a texture or at a frequency that it hasn't been hit before. So I was curious how you guys like know within yourselves that a song is finished.
I'll let somebody else answer first.
Yeah, I was gonna say, for me, when I don't hear the mistakes anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah,
you know, that's just basically.
Yeah.
You know,
when you can finally enjoy it, when you can.
Yeah, exactly. When I can listen to it and I'm like, man, and I don't hear anything I want to change anymore, and then that way. Now, the other great barometer for a song is my kids too. If my kids, like lunatics, then I know I got something. But then I call it finished when I don't have to, when I can't mess with it. Everything's right where it needs to be.
For me, it's that can I sit between the speakers and close my eyes and breathe to it? Like, if I can't do that from the first song, like for the whole song, and then when you build an album, can you do it for the whole album? Because if you can't, I realize if I can't listen to my shit front to back, how could I ever expect someone else? And it's like you do want to try to expose every hole and gap in what isn't serving the song. So that really like, oh, I could breathe from front to back and like, it didn't freak me out, and then it's over. And that's been like something I've really been worked on, because it does expose itself right at you. You just ignore it or you go into it and fix it. And that's something that we all try to grow through as our careers growing, is how to go in there, like, because it's hard to fix the shit sometimes, you know?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, I've always been. I'm sorry. I've always been of the
my bad.
Of the belief that I don't know, like I don't know if I ever feel that any of my songs are finished. I just think you kind of have to have the understanding that there comes a point like where they're ready to, you're ready to let go of them and to let them exist. And also, like I think the more I've done this, the more I realize that like every record that I've done has captured who I was at that moment in time. It may not necessarily be who I am now. I mean, I hope it's not. You know, like I hope I continue growing and continue changing and evolving. But I think you have to be content with what it captures for that time period and like who you were at that time period. Me personally, when I go back and listen to stuff, like I'm good with it. I can let it go. But at the same time, when I listen to my own stuff, a lot of times all I hear is the mistakes. You know what I mean? Like, and it's very difficult, especially because, you know, like I mix my stuff too. And I think if you're mixing your own songs, you have to learn how to let go, because otherwise you'll stay there forever on one joint. You know what I mean? So I think that's really it. It's just kind of having that understanding of self and just knowing that, you know, when the song needs to breathe, then it needs to be out there. It needs to exist, you know?
Yeah, I agree. I think the same way, because even us as performers, you know, like we might create a song like 3 years ago or like 5-6 years ago, and it's like we're just documenting, you know, we have to put a snapshot in time. And I think as we're performing it, we're like building pieces. Like as the years go on, it's like, oh, we added this section, but that's not the recording you hear. But sometimes we will do like a live thing, you know, and it's online. It's a completely different version and built up and more mature version of the song. So I never feel like we finish a song, and you know, like it's always, as long as we're breathing life into it, it's still growing, and it might not be recorded, but you know, we're still
absolutely.
just breathing life into it.
I definitely agree with that. I feel like live versions of songs are always evolving, and I feel like when I'm performing songs, you know, there'll be a couple joints that I still play that, you know, I wrote in like '97. Man, I was like, you know, I was a 20-year-old kid. You know what I mean? It's like how could I possibly, like, I'm not the same person. I'm 44 years old, but it's like the way I perform it now, it's performed differently. You know what I mean? Like you're saying, like there's like a different life that's breathed into it. Even the lyrics, I'm spitting it in a different way with a different understanding than I had when I was 22. You know?
Definitely. I think there's a I don't know if you guys ever saw this video growing up. It's funny that Patrick started talking off by graduation, but there's this video of Kanye trying to find the right kick for Stronger, and he's like making like Timbaland go through like and when I that's when I was first getting into making music, and that was sort of my introduction to the idea of like neurotic perfectionism. And it's definitely like plagued my whole life of being really obsessed with like making sure a mix is perfect. But like, what do you guys, is it like a car test? Is it a, like, I want, you guys said playing it for your kids, like playing it for people, young kids, that's a huge thing for me. Playing it in different areas. Like a lot of times what I'll do is instead of going to your mans and being like, put the headphones on, like listen to this, just like subtly put it in the background and see like how their body moves to something. But yeah, like what's like the final test for you guys? Or like, do you guys sometimes not have that?
Me personally, I have not really a final test, but it's just more like can this, let's say like your song is like a fighter, you know, and the systems or the sources that you play it in are the opponents. It's like
That's a fact.
Can my mix kick ass, you know, whether and factoring in all the different sound sources and the variables, like, you know, most clubs are mono. So like, does the mono compatibility kick ass, or you know, you're rocking a stereo, but when you play it in the club, you're gonna be looking around like, what happened? Is it half the chord be out of phase, or this or that? You know, your lead vocals gone. Yeah, so just factoring those things. I have this wall of like in the teens amount of headphones, and I know I have speakers too, but just any source. I think no matter where you listen to your joint, there's no I'm sorry or excuse this frequency or my bad, too subby. Get it right, take the time. It don't matter if it take however long to mix it, like get it right and put it out, and don't beat yourself up, but just keep using your ears, I feel, you know. That's the
For me it's an energy thing. Like, you know, I know how I like records to sound. I know how a record sounds to me when somebody else does it come out of the speakers. So I know where a finished record to me sounds like. I want to get it there, but it, like, you know, we're all engineers and producers. Like, we all like to tweak the knob. Like, I can over tweak my shit and take that vibe out of there. So I got to be careful with that. And sometimes just, you know, let things just, you know, just let things be. It depends on if I'm mixing for myself or I'm mixing for a client. You know, if it's a client, I'm going to get it to where it sounds like a record and it hits all their check boxes, and I'll send it and trust them to tell me whatever needs to be finessed. But if that's me, it's a different thing, because I can just sit there and tweak forever. So I got to find that balance and not over baking it.
For me, it's like, is that music me? Like what? Like I just realized right now, my story is that I'm running around the world. I go collaborate with anyone, anywhere. The weed we smoke, the culture we see is like, does that story print onto you and like share it? And then I got inspired when you go see like a Picasso exhibit, and one of the paintings is perfectly finished, like the most beautiful, pristine thing, and then he's got a corner of it that's rugged and fucked up. And I realized it's like, if the sound characterizes you, you're going to write a million songs in your whole life. Sometimes they're beautiful and perfect. Sometimes it's an acoustic guitar and like an iPhone speaker, and just learn that, like, does that wave transmit you? And like, because we're all trying to communicate through our music, right? Our music all let us meet each other. That's a dream come true. And like, I see is you can use it as your communication tool if you're honest with it, and like let go of a lot of shit, because actually it doesn't matter. The next day you're going to have that. One day you were in a weird studio where you couldn't hear the shit the right way and you missed it, but it's all you flaming out. So that's what I've been deep into, you know?
That's a great point.
Oh yeah.
I think
yeah, go ahead, man.
I think that growing up, especially like you want your stuff to sound so good, you're like insecure about like, oh, I don't have a good enough mic, or like my vocals aren't clear. And then I feel like once you master like the art of professionalism, you sort of learn that like the fidelity of music, like you said, is only a means of communication. So if I'm communicating a really rugged, raw, like violent or like frustrated feeling. Like it should not be clean. It should not be recorded on the U87.
You want to feel that. You want to pierce people's.
Yeah.
You want to permeate their energy, because a lot of people forgot how to feel.
Yeah, and I think that's why hip hop changed the world. You know, like that's why like when PE shit dropped, like Shut 'Em Down remix,
you gotta hear this.
Raw.
You have
like,
to hear this.
Yeah, and it's urgent. Distortion adds like an urgency. I feel like that is really
punch in the mouth. That's our greatest weapon, is the way our sonics carry through, and then our message. Look, we've been so lucky to grow up in such a diverse field of, we just accept each other to get in that room and let loose. And like, I feel like hip hop taught me that, is like, let's go hard with the shit. And like, it's so beautiful to see everyone in this room, how we're all cracking through. And like, I don't know, I feel so fortunate every day where it's led us all on the planet. Like, our arts led us to each other, you know? That's crazy shit. Like,
I was gonna say, I think if you guys listen to Drink Champs, like Nori's talked about how hip hop should be its own like political party, its own religion, its own union.
Yeah.
And because it is like a family, and it's music, I always felt, is the one thing that brings all cultures together. And hip hop is always special because, number one, it started with people making music using whatever they could find. And that has sort of turned into what is our culture these days. It's just a million different things coming at you. And that's how these groups like Public Enemy made these sound beds. And I actually wanted to ask everybody a question. It sounds like there's a couple of crate diggers in here that like digging for samples. When do you actually, or do you ever clear your samples? And at what point does it have to get where you manipulate it beyond recognition, where you say, there's no way anybody's going to find this?
When the lawyer says so.
Yeah, facts.
Follow up, do you beg for forgiveness or ask for permission?
I have an answer.
I was gonna say, I mean, to be honest, like I think, like when I started making beats, like I didn't, I was mad young and like very ignorant, so I didn't really have the musical knowledge, so I didn't know what my favorite hip hop groups were sampling. So I thought that they were taking smaller pieces than they actually were. So when I was making my own tracks, I was taking like little snippets and manipulating sounds and basically just using records as sound sources, not taking melodies or loops. So, it wasn't so much later when I started getting into jazz and getting into like older soul that I realized a lot of my favorite groups were just taking like, a whole few bars and just looping joints, which, listen, that's a beautiful thing. And, when you were able to get away with that, that was beautiful. I just don't, I was lucky enough that what we were doing, I was always like looking at sampling more like taking sounds and creating your own melodies and creating your own song out of it. So I've always used sampling in that way. You know what I mean? So to me, it's always been that type of art form where I'm trying to create something brand new out of other sound sources. So clearing samples, I mean, like I don't know that anything that I've taken is like that, is that obvious. You know what I mean? Like that's just not the way I've sampled. But I don't know, like just in general, for sampling in general, I feel that, like I've gotten like requests from people telling me that they're sampling some of my stuff, and I take it as a compliment. I'm not looking to get paid off for that. You know what I mean? Because it's like, to me, it's like, if you in hip hop, if it wasn't for sampling, none of us would have been here. Facts. So how am I gonna turn around and be like, nah, you can't sample my joint? You know what I mean? It's like, to me, it's like, go at it, man. Like take whatever you want. Like make something new out of it. Like that's what this is. Like that's what it should be.
Word.
Well, does there become a line though where you may be not cool about it? For example, which C-Doc probably remembers when Chuck D sued Biggie's camp because they used his voice for the 10 Crack Commandments.
Yeah.
Chuck D was very against promoting crack selling, so he had to sue him. Is there a point where
I'm going to let you guys in on a little secret about that whole thing. That actually wasn't Chuck's idea, the lawsuit.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, because Chuck was like, it's hip hop, man.
Yeah.
We sample all the time. How are we going to sue? He wasn't thrilled with the idea that it was being used on 10 Crack Commandments, but he was like, yeah, whatever, it's hip hop, that's what it is. He had songwriters on that song because it was Shut 'Em Down. They were like, yo, this dude's using our stuff and we didn't get a piece of it. And that's how it happened. And actually, Chuck's idea was to go after the record label. Hey, you guys are making money, just cut us a piece. And then Premier produced the song, and he got swept up into it and all this stuff. But it was all good at the end of the day.
And speaking of Premier, Public Enemy actually just dropped a new record.
Yeah.
State of the Union, Shut the Fuck Up.
Okay.
And you were running around the country filming the video to get it out. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, that was a crazy week, man. Last week, literally, they said Chuck wanted to get the record out on Juneteenth, and he said we need a video, and he said, all right, so I need you in New York. So I went to New York on Monday to shoot with Primo and Chuck and Primo at Primo Studio, and then Wednesday I went to LA to get Chuck and Flav and DJ Lord, and then Sunday I was in DC to get the S1Ws, and then I just cut it together and did a marathon edit session and got it done. But I mean, it was kind of crazy, as quick as it happened so fast I didn't have a chance to really think about it. It was just kind of one of those things where it was a situation where you got to go and just don't worry about it and do the best of the job you possibly can. And I think that energy helped fuel the video, and everybody was so excited about it anyway, because that was a project hip hop fans have been asking for a long time. I can remember, you should do a joint with Primo, and Chuck was like, yeah, we'll get there at some point in time. But they did they toured together last year for the over in Europe with Tang and De La, and so they were with Chuck, and Primo was the DJ for the show, and so they were on the road for a while, and so they got to talk and said, yeah, it's about time to do something. So it was crazy, but the response has been great, so thrilled about that, and it's a kind of a perfect song for right now.
Yeah.
And I actually wanted to just ask one quick follow-up, because we have you guys and we got Run the Jewels just put out their record that Nick was working on. And both of these records are so important, like the fact that an MC uses their voice to educate the people. That's what I grew up on. That's what MCing always was to me. If you get the mic, use it to uplift people. It's obviously evolved into so many, like I love Digital Underground and funny stuff too or whatever. But, in a time like today, why don't we see some of the more popular artists I mean, Run the Jewels is super popular, and they're backed by major label for the first time, which is amazing, and Public Enemy still worldwide act. But I mean, for the mainstream, like the guys that are on Hot 97 all day, how come we're not hearing them push out a song that helps people?
You got to ask Hot 97. You got to ask the labels. You know what I mean? Like, that's what they're selling, I mean, there's plenty of people doing that, Underground's full of it. There's a lot of people making positive and insightful music, and it's good. And people are going to buy good music if it's sold to them, but if they're not selling something that's positive, they want to sell one thing over another, and there's a point where they got to bear that responsibility.
For me, when I was working with LP, and we did 2 weeks with Zach De La Roca from Rage Against the Machine, and when September 11th happened, they put out this banned list of songs, and it was like everyone had some people just had one song, and they banned every single one of his songs. Wow. And because you see his corporate radio, this is all top tier capitalist bullshit that we're fighting against, and that you see as they silence his whole career. And now look at Mike, he's on WikiLeaks. Like, to bring that big voice, there's a lot of people that want to take you out with that voice. And let's be honest, of the planet we're living on, man, they don't want to hear that shit. Yeah. And it's been as life's gone on, like, think in the 70s, poets with their pen was a weapon. Like, think how dangerous music was. And society slowly made it harder to be that dangerous character, because also you go into this big money, and that LA haze can steal your soul, and you're just sitting in, no, I don't even want to say shit. I'm getting money, like, laying there. And Killer Mike, you see with like Chuck and PE, they were born to do this shit. There's no other option than to do this shit. And for me, it felt like yo, the best, when you get to record Killer Mike, and anyone here knows as an engineer, you're like the point guard. Like, and when you guys get into that flow and you capture those vocals, you're a part of that. And you see, this shit made me realize, get strong, baby, because all of your light you shine can change the world. And that's what we all, like, if it's not, it's got to be us then. Someone's got to do it with confidence and humility at the same time, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, bro.
Yeah, I agree. I think the voices are out there. It's just, you know, radio ain't playing them, but that's nothing new. The radio's never really played the voices that were saying something. You know, there's been the outliers, like you were saying, like Rage Against the Machine. Like, yeah, they got played for a while, and you know what I mean, but like they got silenced. Public Enemy had some shine on the radio, but minimal, man. Hip hop, like hip hop, when it was consciousness and it was speaking truth to power. Which, you know, hip hop has been that from the beginning. Hip hop has always been that duality of it's party music and it's also social commentary. We've had it since the Last Poets. We had Melly Mel, you know, Grandmaster Flash Furious 5, that, you know, the message, White Lines, where they were spitting truth. They were telling you what was happening on the streets. And at the same time, you had party music that was going on at the same time back then. You had the Planet Rocks and all that. But Africa Bambaataa was running an organization that was actually helping people in the streets. You know what I mean? Yeah. So like the consciousness has always been in hip hop. The radio, listen, man, radio's pop music, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I think if we're gonna expect to hear, you know, our next Malcolm X on the FM dial, that's not realistic. I don't think that's gonna happen. You know what I mean? And also, you know, there's something to be said that, you know, the audience needs to look for it. Like they need to seek it too. You know what I mean? Like I understand the escapism. I understand wanting something to you know, tune out everything that's going on around you when things get heavy. I get it. But at the same time, you also need the voices that are spitting that truth and that are telling you what's going on, and that are giving you that, you know, like the fight the power moments, you know what I mean? That's giving you that energy to keep this struggle and keep this fight going, you know what I mean? So I think you need a balance of both, man, but the voices are there. And I feel like the more like I see the younger generations and what's going on right now, man, like it makes me proud and happy to see these kids out there doing their thing, man. I was a part of a march here in Union City, and yo, I was by far like one of the oldest heads there, man. Like I'm talking like the kids there was like 15, 16 years old. Yeah. And I was not that well spoken. I was not that well educated, and I was not that determined at 15 or 16 the way these kids are. So I think we on the right path. It's just, you know, it's a constant struggle, man. And hip hop is a huge part of that. And I think it'll remain being a big part of that.
Yeah, absolutely. I went to a bunch of most of the protests that are happening here, at least in Jersey. So I'm more in kind of north side, by Teaneck and Bergenfield and all that kind of stuff. But, and all of these marches are being organized by high school students. Yeah. And it's so inspiring to see, because I'm only 26, but even I look at a younger generation to be man, that's gonna be the future. That's the change, and that's a good.
Yo, it would be sick to see the 17-year-olds take down the establishment that we haven't figured out yet. They're
exactly.
TikTok, fuck around.
Well, you know, but I think the beauty in it all is that as we become the elder statesmen, so to speak, at least we on the same page with them. You feel me? Yep. It's not like when we were coming up, you had that older generation that was fighting us tooth and nail and still are. Yeah. You know what I mean? At least by the time we get to be, you know, those elder statements, we're gonna want the change that these kids want. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, we down with everybody. I feel like our generation redefined aging, where you're either 50 or 10 or 70. It doesn't matter anymore. Yeah.
Yep.
There's a great Pharrell quote in his Rick Rubin interview where it's there's getting old and there's getting older, and there's a big distinction between those things, because you can get older without getting old as long as you stay young in the mind. And speaking about the distinction of music speaking on these things, and to your point about Gen Z really doing a really good job of bringing the energy, is I think that a lot of ways that they educate and channel this in their music is very subversive. It's not always directly speaking on an issue the way that Chuck D would speak on an issue, or the way that all of these greats would speak on the issue. Sometimes it's capturing the feeling of being at a protest. Sometimes it's capturing the feeling of being at a riot, the way like Sly Stone captured that feeling.
No
and I
doubt.
think that when you realize that music is just a frequency and it is just a score, sometimes it is about directly educating the way that like a lot of greats do, but sometimes it's just about capturing the feeling of the zeitgeist at the moment, which is this anger, this ignorance, this frustration. And I think a lot of young artists are more going for a texture and a frequency and a tone than necessarily saying something, because everything's already been said by
Absolutely.
the greats, by the Chuck D's, by all these people, everything. Like, so I think a lot of what needs to be said right now is the capturing a feeling part of it.
Yeah,
It's
I
sick we
agree
can
100% with that.
Sorry.
No, I was saying I agree 100% with that. That's natural. Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, wait, before you go on, I'm curious. I find that very interesting, and I like the idea of, you know, I mean, because I look at younger folks, and just like Will was saying, like, they know more, they're smarter, they're more savvy than I ever was at that age. And that's even, like, super young, like toddlers. I watch them use a phone, and I'm like, dog, I could never in my life have done that when I was 5, and you're surfing the internet. But I just want to ask, and this is just out of curiosity, because you can be nuanced with stuff when you're preaching to the choir, because they understand those vibes, they understand that nuance. The problem, you know, and I'm only going to speak from me, but a lot of it is that there's people who have not been listening for a very long time, and I don't know, at some point you kind of got to shout in somebody's face, but that also might not work. I don't know what my question is, but I don't know if it's how effective can that nuance be, and I'm hoping it can be very effective. I don't know.
Yeah. No, I think this is something I think about a lot, where it's like hip hop culture is culture, point blank, period. And therefore our emotional volatility can be exploited because we want hip hop to be everything, but at the same time hip hop is this beacon for the entire world, and like it's bigger than the government, it's bigger than all these things. Like these people who are holding back progress, their kids are going home and listening to rappers. So like they can't fight it. It's bigger than they can control. But I think that's a really important point, and that's why my only response would be like it has to be balanced. Like there have to be just as many Chuck D's as there are Playboy Cardis, or else the entire thing gets out of whack. And like, but I do think it's important that like there needs to be revolution in music, and then there also needs to be like dance revolution. Like in order for something to be sustained, you have to be able to feel it in every single emotion. Like a revolution shouldn't always feel like, you know, pain and all the, sometimes it needs to feel like relief, sometimes it needs to feel funny, it needs to feel all of these things, because we need to think about it all the time. So I think that's like a really important way that everyone can play their separate roles, because someone needs to be putting out positivity in like a way that feels ignorant. Someone needs to be putting out positivity in a way that feels progressive. And hopefully if everyone does their job correctly, we can maintain momentum, because you'll always have something to listen to.
That's a great fucking answer.
Yeah, man.
That was a really good answer, man.
Yeah. And just to kind of like piggyback off your point too, like Donovan, like when it comes to like, for me at least, when I'm listening to like hip hop that makes me feel like I'm in a protest, and like makes me feel like I'm in a party. Like thank God to like technology and like social media, and like just being able to easily access this thing, I can now associate a song with a picture and like a video. So now I'm like already kind of like, oh yeah, this does make me feel like I'm in a protest, because I'm also watching a protest at the same time as the backdrop. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know what's crazy? It's like we're really living in a revolution right now. Yeah. It's so crazy. It's like I never thought, like I always heard about it, read about it in school, but it's like, yo, the most unexpected time to be alive is just so crazy. Like we're like, and it's really like you said, Generation Z. It's like the kids who grew up with the phones in their hands, like.
Yeah,
literally, like as soon as they came out the womb, it's like here's a phone, you know. It's like do you even know what a Sega Genesis is? Or like they don't even know what that is. It's like those are the kids that started this. Like they're the ones that started just like, you know, just everything from cancel culture that's like just deleting all these the biggest dudes in the entertainment industry, like
just taking them down.
They're the ones that like hyped it up. It's just so crazy that like we're living.
Do you guys
right
feel
now.
a like
It's
daunting
crazy.
element to put out music in like the side of like, I don't think as musicians there's ever been like, there's very few times in history where what we do is so consequential. Do you guys feel like a extra, before you press like upload to TuneCore or whatever, do you guys question yourself additionally to be like, wow, is this really what's needed right now?
So there's a experience I had with that. Where there's this Phony People song that we're working on that's still in the works now, and there was this concept I was explaining lyrically about the opposite sex being around you more or more attracted to you because of your financial status, no matter if it's a male being attracted to a female or a female being attracted to a male. But just in the situation of this part, it was written in the first person view. And I was talking about in my situation how it would be was with a woman, So the way that I put it, the rest of the band member, it raised a couple of the band members' eyebrows, like, yo, this could be offensive, Yeah. And it was like, okay, how do you find the like I went over the lyrics and said, okay, I really said what I meant to say, And if it's something that's like, when I translate it, and I think art is art, and our medium is just is the auditory art. But if you think about a movie or a multimedia thing, it's like someone who's making a movie, they're directing a movie or they wrote a movie, and they have someone who's racist in it. There's a racist character or a serial killer in it. I don't think they would be pinned to every element that they used in their art as far as the movies go to say you had a serial killer in your mind created this character, that means you're a serial killer. So I think to have these conversations or to put elements in your art that have a strong emotion behind it or people who are passionate about their perspective, for some reason music has a higher sensitivity than every other art form. I could paint a picture of someone being decapitated, but it's like if I said it on a track, before a song started, it'd be like, whoa, what, this guy is out of his mind, you know what I mean? So it's part of society and the way that we treat this art form. But I'm also one to not limit my own self in the things that my mind can come up with. I think it's about, do you take action on certain things that you come up with or not? Like, is it remaining in a song, or are you out here really blowing shit up? You know what I mean? It's like, I think if you're not unstable, if you're not too unstable and you can't draw the line between what you should go outside and do and what's like a dream, a lyric from your imagination, then I think that's a deeper problem. But I think art is supposed to be free, and I hate the fact that if you're not out here like, yo, I hate you, or you hate me, and like, yo, F you directly, you know what I'm saying? I think if you're not hurting any feelings or putting out negative energy, then I think it should be okay.
It's your right.
It is. And I think music is like reflective, and it's all about how you present what you take in back to the world, kind of.
Yeah.
So, you know what I'm saying? It's all about perception. So if you're making really honest music, it is reflective. It's what you're taking in, you're putting it back out, and it's your vision on that. It's your version of it.
Right. And that's what I feel is it's cool to have a safe artistic environment, whether it's people you create with or this or that, and to have a filter, because it could happen to you by accident. I could have like, who knows, I did go back and I changed it. I found another way to make my point. That's not like, I feel that's not cheapening the actual punch of the lyric, and it took a while to do because I had to go change flows and like actually changed everything. We recorded everything. I was like, yo, I can't change that one part. I have to change everything, but I did it, and it's actually cool. But I know now that we're safe from something that they saw something. It could have went left, but because they spoke up about it, there's no way now, So it could only be good to have another set of ears to say like, yo, I don't know about that lyric, you know what I'm saying? Or, I don't know about that kick drum, man. I don't know.
And it's like writing with another person just makes the process so easy because it's like your ideas are constantly bouncing back and forth off of each other. There's no dead space for the creativity at all. You know what I mean? And it's, oftentimes if you're doing the right thing, it's affirmation and people are hype and getting excited and like it's like live music. That's what it's supposed to be, you know?
Exactly. Yeah. Even while it's being created, before you hit the stage, it's still live music.
Exactly. That's because you feel that vibe and you want to catch that. You want to reel that in real quick. Like,
yeah.
That's a good segue to kind of like I'm wondering like because of the pandemic and quarantine and everything like that, like collabing with other people has been like interesting. Like you've had to come up with ways to kind of like collab differently with different people. I remember you and I, Brian, like this thing with Calamosa where we were literally like on FaceTime like this and we were sending stems to each other. They were listening to the track through my speakers like on the phone and they were just like, yo, add this guitar part. Then I would send the stems back just like that. It adds an extra step, but it shows that it's possible to collaborate.
It was smooth though. Like we got from like start to finish in a 3 hour session, like a pretty good chunk done, and we didn't really have any hiccups in the workflow. Or I didn't feel any. You know what I mean?
Not me neither. But like, is there like what's like everyone's kind of like process right now in terms of collaborating with different people, like around the world or even close to you?
Dropbox.
Yeah, facts. Dropbox.
Share Dropbox that we can both while out on the file, and then it's like it becomes like a time chess match. We're like for 30 minutes like a maniac. Check out what I did. Me and my mentor Gareth Jones, we have a project called Spiritual Friendship, and we decided let's break all, like our old rules were only create in person. We don't work on the shit at all away from each other. And so during this pandemic, we're like, no rules, man. Just let's like go wild. And so for me, it's liberated me because like, I feel like things you might have done or stopped yourself from doing, you've taken off that parameter. Like, yo, wild out, like break the glass, like, and then he's going to touch it and flip it back. And I think it's allowed me new ways to like experiment and like send people stuff because also they're sitting at the crib and everyone's just sitting at home so they can listen a couple times and like digest what work you put in and stuff. Sometimes I feel like people don't listen back to what you created for them because they're like in one iPhone's earphone in the car. Or like we all stop and moving, I think has enabled us all to reflect and think about our weak points as producers and like how to grow. At least for me, I thought about how do you grow during this for when all of us can be in a room together again. Like how do you become the best you to interrupt whenever it comes back around? You feel me?
Yeah. My co-producer who was supposed to be here but wasn't able to, Mike Mayer, he lives in Brooklyn. I live in Jersey. We've been working like with Dropbox for a while, just sending like sometimes I kind of prefer working that way, just sending things back and forth. I love being in the studio by myself, man. So like this, to be honest, like this kind of like ties into the last question too. I've been struggling with different things, like first with the pandemic and then like with everything going on socially. I definitely did, for a little while, it was just kind of like, damn, like, do I even like, do I need to work on another record? You know what I mean? It was like that kind of thing, like where, as musicians, man, like what we do, especially professional musicians, what we do requires a functioning society. You know what I mean? Like if you don't have a functioning society, there are no shows, there is no audience, there are no customers, there's none of that, And I don't know, like I definitely, in my core, I know that music is important, and I know that what we all do as artists is invaluable to society and it's needed. I know that. But at the same time, it's like when you look around, you see everything that's happening. Sometimes you feel like, is that enough? Am I doing enough? You know what I mean? Like, is me working on another record really the move, or do I need to figure out what else I need to do in this world to make this place better? I'm still, and I think part of that was also like I wasn't able to come to my studio building for a while. So this is like the first time I've been back. Like last week was the first time I was back, like in a good like 2 months. So being back in here definitely and getting back into creating, I'm slowly getting back into that feel and that vibe of like I could wrap my head around this and start creating again. But I think for a while it's gonna be just me in the studio. You know what I mean? Like I don't see myself sharing, having people come in, man, because you just don't know. You know what I mean? So I think Dropbox is the way to go for me right now, man.
Yeah, I've been feeling a lot of the same way. Like honestly, you know, when the pandemic hit, I'm like, all right, I'm gonna make a lot of beats. I'm gonna do all this stuff. I'm gonna send stuff. I made a beat in like a month and a half. You know what I mean? I've been mixing a lot of records. You know?
Yeah, I actually like DJ'd a lot. That's all I did from home. You know what I mean? Like more listening to music than creating.
Yeah, you know, and especially like in the past 3 weeks, I like, you know, I'm watching the news. I'm inside. I'm seeing, you know, march and everything go by my window. My wife is pregnant, so I can't be out there in the streets with everything going on.
Right.
But I'm watching and I'm impacted by that. You know, in 2014, the last real hot summer that we had, you know, with everything in Ferguson and everything, you know, I wrote then and I created then, and I'm starting to find that kind of energy now. But you know, I haven't felt it in that way, you know, and it's just how I'm handling it this time through. You know, I got to make music because that's just what I do on my daily. Just, you know, if I'm feeling bad, if I sit down, if I do a mix, I'm gonna feel better at the end because I did what I do, you know, and that's what I love to do. But you know, they lynching people in America, in New York. It's hard for me to sit down and be like, I wanna mix a record right now.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, it's hard to do that, but that's also, you know, it's what I love to do, but that's my job.
Right.
You don't work, you don't eat. So you gotta do that as well. But I'm hoping to get back more in the creative thing and be able to write something and, you know, hit that side of it too, and not just from the tech side.
I think something that maybe we all took for granted as musicians is we need different environment, new stimulus to write new things. So personally, I feel like there's only so many chord progressions or lyrics or melodies that are going to come to me in the 4 rooms of my room. Like I need to be in new places. I need to be experiencing new things. But to a lot of your point, I think a lot of you guys were kind of hitting on this note of like, I'm gonna chill for a second. I'm gonna grow as a human being, and then when things do get back to normal, I'm gonna be an even better artist. And as far as like physically, what I've been doing a lot is like instead of Dropbox or things that I started off doing at the beginning of quarantine, I've been working on a joint project with a friend of mine, and we have the same rule about we only work in person, and he's all the way in LA. So we've just been sending each other voice notes, and it's made me focus so much more on my songwriting. Because if the song is great on an iPhone voice note, when we actually link up and really produce the record and really get the right vocal take, it'll be even better. But something about like stripping myself back and just focusing on like, how is this hook? How is this bridge? How is this verse? Just sounding on like my iPhone mic. I think that sort of helped me like take the pressure off and really focus on like the things I can control right now, which is like my songwriting, my lyrics, my vocal delivery, that kind of stuff.
You know what I think is amazing, man? Like you saying that about the iPhone mic, you know, just in general, man, like we spend our entire careers trying to build up, you know, buying gear, and I need a better mic and I need this and I need that. End of the day, man, all these things are just tools. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't really matter. Like, because I always remind myself, it's like, yo, when I started, I had like a Gemini turntable, and like, you know what I'm saying? Like, my first sampler was an SB12 that I bought for like $500 used. You know what I mean? And it's like, it doesn't matter what you have, it's what you create with it.
Yeah.
So like everything that you amass as far as technology is dope, but it's like that's just like paintbrushes, man. Like it's not, you know, it doesn't having like the illest gear on the planet is not gonna make you write the dopest song. The dopest song is gonna be written no matter what. That shit gotta be in you. You know what I mean?
Yeah. All right. And I think like
to tell you the truth, man, like the iPhones, like it's crazy. Like the apps that are out there right now. Like I ain't gonna front. There's a lot of joints that I've been working on that have strictly been done on an iPad. You know what I mean? And you know, if people hear it, like you can't tell like where something originated or like where you created a beat on. You know what I mean? Like it's like, yo, like the song you write is what matters at the end of the day.
Yeah. Right. Those voice memos, a lot of records I do is just somebody walking around. I tell my artists, you have an idea, sing it in your phone. Whatever it is, 3 lines, 1 bar, whatever, sing it, send me that. because I just need that one little bit.
Yep, exactly.
To set me up to start creating. A lot of demos, I'm just like, let me take that. I'll hit you back tomorrow, and then I got a fully fleshed thing. And it's like, okay, well now write to this. I just need that one little bit. But to have that audio sketch pad with you at all times,
Yeah.
that's it. That's it.
Yeah.
Hold up.
Real quick. Oh, yo, there's like this one song that we were working on that the iPhone mic it's just the best mic.
Exactly.
For some reason, you just have those like, you just put it somewhere far where you can like have the drums is not distorting. And I don't know, there's something about like how it captures the room and like everything. It just like it does it so beautifully.
My theory is that it's the mic. Yeah, it's the mic that we hear the most. So of course our ears are gonna develop some fondness to it. Yeah. And like there's been a lot of songs where I've been keeping that take, and I'll mix the iPhone voice note take because I believe in like whatever sacred frequencies or whatever, but we've had these phones for over a decade now. Our ears like them. Like it's what we hear the most. We're more familiar with those textures than a SM57, like a U87 texture. So there's definitely some magic to that, and there's definitely some intimacy to that because it's like the frequency you're most used to hearing.
Yeah, I mean, and there's a precedent for that. I mean, first, it's just like what was said, it's a tool. Whatever tool is in your toolbox, if that works, that's your one, right? But also, you know, I mean, people wanted to use the SSL listen mic compressor, and then that became a thing that you could patch into on the console, and then now they make plugins based off the listen mic compressor, which is just so you could hear somebody in the live room. But it sounded good. It sounded pleasing to somebody, so that became a thing, you know? For all the rules that we learn, well, you got to use this gear and this ratio and this frequency. That shit sound good? Like, you know what I mean? Like, you learn all that stuff so then you can know that and you can break the rule, but you can follow a rule and it can still not be right for the song, so who cares?
Yeah. I feel like lately I've gotten to the point in my studio where I got like the sound got so pristine that I'm like on the other side now. Like I'm trying to make shit dirtier. You know what I mean? It's like I'm trying to go back to what it sounded like when I had my bedroom set up. You know what I mean? So it's like I think that's like you said, like the distortion. That's all part of the sound. And again, it's like you said, you got to just ask yourself, does it sound good? That's the most important question. It doesn't really matter if you're on an SSL or if you're on whatever. You know, you could have the cleanest sound in the world, but that might not be the right sound for that song. You know what I mean? So it's like, at the end of the day, you got to ask yourself, does it sound right? That's it. You know what I mean? It
and that's
really
all
matter
fans hear.
Yeah.
Like we make music. When we hear a song, we see the Pro Tools or Logic session, we break it down into all these parts. What goes into normal listeners, that's one flat wave file that just comes into them. They're not thinking about like, oh, the vocal peaks at 347. Oh,
listen, like yo, like I know, like we were talking about like listening back to tracks. Like my wife laughs at me. It's like she'll like, you know, I'll be obsessing over like a snare sound or something. And she's like, just stop. She's like, no one cares. Like you're the only one that cares about what you're listening to right now. Yeah. Most people are just gonna listen to that and hear the joint and be like, oh yeah, it sounds fine. You know what I mean? But again, it's like, but it's that obsession that's what also motivates us, man. Like that's what, you know, like we love it that much, like that every single frequency matters. You know what I mean? And it's like if we weren't like that, like who would be? You know what I mean? Like who would be doing this? You know what I mean?
Somebody has to do it, and that's us. But at the end of the day, the listener doesn't know or care about any of that. It's about the emotion in the song. If the song feels good, they're gonna fool with it. If it doesn't feel good, they're gonna skip it.
Right.
So I just have like one last question, if you guys have time. So in like today's kind of like climate, like what are your kind of like advice to beginning musicians, like younger musicians who want to get into hip hop, who want to get into rap, and also make a living doing it? Because like although we can be like, yo, yeah, you shouldn't worry about the money because you should only do it because you love it. Unfortunately, we are set up in a society where money and making money does matter, and like you have to be able to pay for your rent, you have to be able to pay for your student loans and all this kind of stuff. But I also want to like produce and play hip hop. Like, what do I do to like follow my dreams and also be a successful like in capitalism?
For me, it was be delusional and believe in yourself to put the 15 G's on your credit card and get in debt and work your way out of this.
Facts.
If you didn't do that, you're gonna be in jail, son. So do this shit. And that's all you do.
Yeah,
That's fair. Also, be careful with that credit though, because I've dug myself out of holes, and that shit does take a minute.
But you gotta if you love this and know you were put on earth to do this, you must do this. And there's no that
you gotta roll the dice on yourself.
You definitely gotta believe it. You know, if you gotta believe in yourself, if you feel that this is what you gotta do, then do it. It's hard to give like younger heads advice because everything has changed so much in this industry. I really don't know if the rules that I don't know if what got me on or got me through even apply anymore. You know what I mean?
Right?
It's
wow,
difficult.
I never thought of it like that.
If I started today, I wouldn't know where to start. You know what I mean? I don't know. How do you make yourself how do you get your voice heard when there's so many people doing it? And there's so many.
The exact same.
There were like 6 producing back in '98. No one produced, but you were so rare just to be a producer back then.
Right.
That was like your commodity is then all of a sudden when everyone does it, it's so crazy. Now you should just play guitar again because nobody plays guitar.
You're good.
That's hilarious.
Man.
That's fucking hilarious.
Yeah. No, but I do believe, I mean, look, money's dope and we all want it and we all got to get that. But if you're in it like this is my get rich quick scheme, you're doing the wrong thing.
Yeah.
Because even if you get 1 hit, that don't mean you get 2 hits. That doesn't mean you get a career. You know, if you want real money like for your life, you got to build your career up and have that foundation so that it's right. But if you don't love this, you're not going to want to put in the long hours in the studio. You're not going to spend that proper time tweaking that snare drum that's going to drive you crazy forever. You know, like you got to love the process of it, not just the results from a hit song. Because you may never get a hit, but that doesn't mean you're a failure in your career. That means you have a regular working class career like everybody else. Every lawyer ain't Johnny Cochran, but they still do their thing, right? So you got to enjoy the process.
The one advice that I think that still carries over that I could give is, I think you need to set like what success means to you, and you have to define it yourself. You can't let anyone define what your success is, because like you're saying, man, like you're not guaranteed a hit, you're not guaranteed anything in this. You got to do it because you need to do it. For me personally, this has always been like I've always told people I feel like this, like I've been like a blue collar musician, like you were saying, like where this happens to be my 9 to 5. I just happen to really love it. And beyond that, this has always been this is like my therapy, man. Like I need to do this so I can be a normal person in regular life. If I wasn't creating music, I wouldn't be a normal person. I don't think I would be here, to be honest with you. So the fact that I get to do this for a living has been a beautiful thing for me, man. And again, it's like you must define your own success. Like you have to understand that you're not everyone's gonna be a superstar and not everyone's gonna be a millionaire. That's not what this is about. You need to, you need to create things because you need to create it, and you need to get your voice out there. That's, do it for yourself. That's it.
They picked up Manny. Yeah, Manny.
And it's all about your journey, man. This is all about the journey through it, man. Like the lows and getting. I thought my career was gonna end like every year since it started. Like, the phone stops ringing sometimes, and like that's when you go into the dojo and make your best work because I got a little lazy, or let me reconnect. And like I feel like just know that the bedroom when you're 14 is just as sick as any of the other places, and know that that's just where you're weaving in and out of. And like they're all such, because we get to connect deeply with human beings. We get to like go deep into the soul, and like to me that's such a beautiful thing that we can leave ourselves vulnerable to like continue that to happen. And like it leads you to so many wild places, man. Think where we've all been that we never thought we would go in a trillion years, man.
I would say for just like talking from experience to tell a younger person, like just keep it fun, keep it super fun. Like the minute you start thinking about money is the minute it just becomes a little bit more, like the fun starts chipping away. But then when you start making money from it, while you're doing it for fun, it's like, oh, I can actually do, like this is something I could do, And then it takes just years, and then you'll see like your first $100 bill, your first $200 check, and it's like, oh snap, this is, I could buy a sandwich now, or I can, I'm gonna be hungry, but I'm gonna buy that piece of gear that I saw in a studio, that was super dope. That inspired me to make this song, you know.
Oh, you mean that
that's-
Eventide? You mean that Eventide gear?
Yep,
Yeah,
yep.
Yeah, Eventide. You know what's up, baby?
Yeah, dude.
Oh yeah.
Don't let
I
me hit
think-
the hot switch. Don't let me do it. Don't let me do it to him.
I think that
Exactly that.
I think that having a career in music while it's what you love the most on this planet feels like carrying a baby through a burning building. Like you just don't want it to get ruined. And that's the biggest investment in yourself you can make is to make sure music is still fun for you. If it's not getting fun, take a break. Because the second that thing breaks, you're fucked. Like now you don't have inspiration. Now, so like if you genuinely, and I'm talking financially, if you want to be doing this for 10 years, make sure you still like it. Like that's the thing I've seen so many of my friends lose sight of with success, that like, bro, you have to make sure you still like this. Like you're gonna break that muscle if you don't take care of it.
Yeah.
And also it's good, like I always embrace writer's block, man. Like I think that's okay. Like it's just like a period for meditation and a period to be like, you know what, maybe I need a redefinition of my sound. But then you'll get there, and then it'll be like, man, I redefined my sound, but I'm also integrating just everything, you know. It's like it's just like I'm just adding, you know. So don't be afraid of writer's block. I always say that. I'm in writer's block right now.
Same.
I haven't pressed the record button in a minute for myself, you know. But
It's like off season.
I embrace
in
it.
basketball.
Yeah, I
Off
embrace it.
season. Yeah, it's all good.
Yeah, you got to be patient with yourself. Like it's not an overnight success thing, you know. And like it's hard to be creative every single day on demand, right? Like that's not even a normal, regular human thing. You know, we're special that we're able to do it most of the time, right? So you got to be able to give yourself that break that maybe you don't have it one day or you're just not feeling it or whatever. But also, like you're saying, on that long term, you know, like your first album is not your breakout. Like Good Kid, Mad City wasn't Kendrick's first album. Feel me? Like that's the one a lot of people got introduced to, but he put in the for that to get to that point. You got to be patient and don't think, well, my first song ain't hit like that, so I'm not gonna pop off. That's not how it works.
Right. Yeah, man. I mean, even for like talking about the writer's block thing, the worst thing for me is like if I'm playing guitar and I'm like, oh man, this thing is really good, and I'm not recording, and then as soon as I press record, I'm like, yo, how did I play that? Fuck, bro.
Yeah.
Every time.
iPhone, bro, you need that.
Yeah. Voice notes saves your life. I promise.
Always be recorded. Yo, well, thank you guys so much for joining, man. This was such a special talk. It was like such a good insight on everything. I guess I'll just kind of like, I'll just introduce everyone and kind of like tell people where they can find you and you know, like what you want them to know, any new releases, all that kind of stuff. So let's start off with the Eventide crew again. Actually, you can find me on Instagram as Who Is Mystery Child. Check it out. I'll post some guitar videos too there too. Yo, Brett, you want to introduce yourself real quick? I mean, outro yourself?
Yeah, you could find me headsnack.com or at headsnack. Donovan.
Yeah, Donovan again. You can find me Instagram, Twitter, everywhere at DONNYNNON. Yeah, I'm putting out new music like very, very soon.
Right on. Willie Green.
You know, I'm on Twitter and Instagram or whatever, Willie Green and the number 1. Or you can check the website, williegreenmusic.com. What's new? Arm & Hammer, the new Arm & Hammer album, Shrines, came out a couple weeks ago.
It's a dope album.
Yo, good looking out. That's what's up. Mixed and mastered that, executive producer. The vinyl is sold out, which is beautiful, but that digi is still available, so go check that out.
Yeah. Yo, speaking of vinyl, how exciting is it that like everybody's getting back into vinyl now, and like you know, Spotify's a real thing. No one's really selling any CDs anymore, but like people are buying vinyl and bands are making vinyl. That's so cool to me.
What's up with that? What's up with the vinyl plant fire though? Did we solve that? That happened right before the Rona, and I think everybody forgot. But the lacquer plant.
Yeah. All the masters were lost and everything. John the Beatles. Yeah, I don't know what's
No, wasn't it the company that makes the material that they make the lacquers out of?
Yeah,
that's what it was. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, we're looking into pressing the new Public Enemy record when we finish it here soon. That's what I'm working on right now. Our lacquer guy, JJ Golden out in LA, he's cutting again, so I'm guessing they got.
Oh wow, okay.
You know, but I haven't heard anything else.
That's what's up. Yeah, if you hear anything, keep us updated, because that's that undercover thing that a lot of people don't forgot about with the Corona, that there's a shortage in that now. So
yeah, I thought we were going to be in trouble. So
yeah,
we'll see.
Glad to hear you're not.
Yeah.
Okay, Brian, you want to outro yourself?
Yeah. You can find me on Instagram as BChaps Raps. That's BChaps Raps. Keep an eye out for the Rock Kamalii album on Bandcamp via Soul Tapes and Inner Ocean Records. I got that coming out. Mixed and mastered that, which I'm really hyped on. Did it for vinyl. That was fun. And then keep an eye out for the Calamosa song that Pat and I are working on with him. That should be out in the next, probably the next month or so.
Word.
Yeah, thank you for having me, man.
Of course.
Appreciate it. It was a pleasure chatting with you guys.
Indeed.
Yo, Elbee and AJ, you guys want to outro yourselves?
Sure. Y'all can hear me, right?
Yeah, man.
Word. I think real quick before I say peace, there was the conversation took its natural course, but there was this one thing I wanted to answer real fast from earlier. It was how do you know when you're done with the song? And to me, it's only one. I'm only one guy, but the way I see it is that if you really understand what the piece is before you bring it into reality, then you'll know when you're done. And like, you know, you can have a canvas and fill up every part of the canvas with paint, or you can have a whole canvas that's like the size of a building and put one little dot of ink on it and be done. So it's just like understanding that you could equate that to like let's say this song's what we call an acoustic song. Like we have harp, grand piano, and a voice. You know what I'm saying? And it's done. Like we could add drums because you hear this fat ass drum beat that could fit there, or you know, you think like, yo, let's add something else. You can always want to add something, but really when you understand the DNA of the writing and of the song itself, I think that'll like dictate how to go about recording it and when to stop. Because there's always another harmony you could hear, or like another thing you could overdub or do this. But you know, when you see the whole picture, if you can zoom out and see it, that this song is just that big canvas with the one dot in the middle of it, or this one is the one that's a whole beach with a sunset, everything's filled. Then you'll know, okay,
intention.
It's done. Yeah, it's done. Or like, now we just 1% just getting started, you know?
Right.
So that's really what the one thing I wanted to say. But besides that, I really appreciate everything that everybody had to say, and it's cool to tap into people who think like we do, you know, and who are just as hands-on with the technical side of it and being artists as well. So yeah, thanks. We're Phony people. This, you know, Adrian
Grant on the keys.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Thank you guys for having us. You know, thanks for having me. You know, I just came in like a day. Like I was like, oh, what's up? Yeah, hell yeah. I'll definitely love to be part of the convo, you know. So y'all are super dope, man. I learned a lot today, so I'm very grateful. Thank you.
And one more thing, yo, this definitely can't be the last one. We gotta do this again for sure.
Go for it.
Yeah, like
we're all
episodes
together in the same room, man. Let's do a whole panel together.
Oh, fat. You know, cue cards.
I'm with that.
Exactly. Right on, bro. Yay!
You gotta end on that.
Nick, where can people find you, bro?
You can find me, Nick Hook, on the internet, but really find me in these streets. That's where I excel.
That's where I excel.
Along with birds and the bullfrog, bro. It's Nick Hook.
I have an album coming out August 7th on my label called Common Collect. It's inspired by touring. It's made in India, China, Mexico, Brooklyn. And I'm really just feel honored that I realized through all this shit that our real life's mission is to solve this problem of equality and love. And it's been so good to know that music's been such a beautiful tool to like, damn, we've been doing this shit our whole lives. Like, let's really do it. And like, I just urge everyone to be your best self, because the shining us is, I realize what's really going to make that change. We were given such a blessed opportunity to to unite. And so thank y'all for like just making, I feel like we all know we're in the right place at the right time by having these convos. And from the bottom of my soul, like I thank all y'all and know that I'm here. You know, anyone ever wants to reach out in New York City, I got a studio. Like I'm here to offer anything I can for everyone to grow, and let's do this shit, you know, straight up.
Yeah, bro. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's an important time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Word.
Yeah.
Like it's too important for us not to be the most beautiful us. Like I feel so good to know that just thrive. Like everybody thrive. Let's go. You know.
Yeah. Yeah. C-Doc.
Yeah. So you guys can find me at I'm on Instagram at the Davy J Show.
You froze?
Is that the dramatic pause or what?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The man set up the tension
was-
right there.
He's just waiting for everybody to follow him right now. He's like,
Yeah, that's what he was
He's gonna handle
Wait,
full
wait for
out.
everyone.
I just
That was the hardest exit I've ever seen in my life. That was a motherfucking mic drop.
actually follow him, and it
Oh, bro,
is.
you just took the mic.
It is
Holy shit. That was the most gangster shit I've ever seen.
Man, I gotta follow that shit up.
he just texted me his Zoom.
He just signs off.
And yeah, dälek, Will.
Yeah, yo, that's a hard one to follow up, man. But yeah, I'm dälek once again, man. Yeah, you can find me on deadverse.com. That houses my record label, houses all the dälek stuff, all the other projects I got out there. And on Instagram, it's dälek, DALEK NWK. I'm out there. But yeah, man, yo, I really appreciate this, man. Like I said, going through everything we're going through, man, it was like talking to all you brothers, you know, it's important, man. And it's really dope to connect with all of y'all, man. And we definitely got to do this again.
Absolutely.
But yeah, man, you know, like everyone was saying, man, these are important times, and we got to keep marching, man. We got to keep moving ahead. And it definitely makes me feel better to know that there's heads like y'all out there, man, that are doing this. Word up.
And that's a good point, man. Like a lot of people are just thinking that this like protesting and marching is going to end, you know, in like a week. It just ends in a week. You got to keep going. You got to keep speaking your voice. You got to actually keep showing up to the marches and showing up to the protests, because, you know, it's more than just like posting something on Facebook or Twitter.
Word up.
You got to actually show up, be a body. Yeah.
Word up. But yeah, man, like, yo, whenever y'all want to do that panel, let me know, man. Once all this clears up, I'm definitely with that.
Yo, absolutely. And yo, C-Doc, with the wild like, exit, bro.
Man. It's like my turns, like, and then my computer's like Zoom crash. Oh, thank you. But no, yeah, I'm on Instagram at the Davy J Show, and it's just really my just pictures of my kids holding my vinyl collection, my hip hop and rap stuff. So, but that's the best way to find me on there. And then, like I said, we're at the Spit Slam record label group. It's spitslamrecords.com. And that's where you see what I'm working on. I'm trying to finish up this new PE record. It's actually an amended version of the album Nothing is Quick in the Desert, which we had originally released for free back in 2017. And we're going to put it out properly this time, you know, with vinyl and cassettes and CDs and whatnot. So we add some songs to it, you know, make some cosmetic changes to it. But that's what I'm working on right now. So that's it.
Dude, awesome, man. Well, I mean, I'm really excited for everything that everyone's coming out with soon. And again, it's such a pleasure to talk to everyone, man. Thank you guys so much for joining today.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Right on, guys. Yo, let's do it again sometime, yo.
Yeah,
Yes, indeed.